Hey guys, now you can follow me on Facebook. Just go to facebook.com/UltraMaximusReviews. Hey guys, Ultra Maximus back with a new video series, Let's Talk About. And I wanted to, I don't know, kind of do a new series and make it, not really a vlog per se, but maybe a review or recap of stuff like TV shows, movies, comics, things to that kind of nature where we can sit down and just kind of talk about, the whole thing. It really kind of came to me. I just watched Star Trek Picard. Of course, it debuted yesterday on CBS All Access. I'm a huge Star Trek geek. I have been forever, and I was really excited about this show, and I can't wait to actually talk about it. So we'll get into it here in a second. But this series kind of was inspired by Kal-El Prime, a fellow YouTuber. He used to do a recap and review kind of series on Transformers Animated years ago when that series was live on TV. And I used to sit at work and watch the videos after my shift and loved it. So I figured, why not go ahead and do something similar for Star Trek Picard since we're just kicking it off. So, gonna give you spoiler alerts. We're definitely going to talk about Easter eggs and themes and plots. And if you have not seen the episode, go back and watch the episode first, then come back and watch this video. All right, so we got that out of the way. Go ahead and grab yourself a drink, sit back, and let's talk about Star Trek Picard. Ah, tasty. All right, so I had a lot of high hopes for the show. I was really hoping it was not going to be like Star Trek Discovery, because I don't like that show at all. It's not good. I don't like it. I've got a few friends that are telling me, hey, go back and watch some more of the show. It gets better, which I know a lot of series do, but man, that Hollywood agenda driven stuff just it felt very forced. A lot of that feminist kind of Mary Sue characters running the ship, and the really stereotyped gay couple with the doctor and the engineer. Man, if I was a gay man, I would be offended by that. It was so badly written and so forced. It's just, it reminds me of the new Doctor Who. It's just a bunch of woke crowd crap. And I had a lot of fears with Picard because Patrick Stewart, who I think is a great actor, he's pretty liberal, and he's kind of in that woke crowd. And he told, I want to say it was Variety, he had an interview with them and said that Picard was not going to be TNG, which it shouldn't be. It's a different show. And that they're going to deal with things like, the Trump era and what's going on today and Brexit and all that kind of crap. And I was like, man, don't give us a bunch of this agenda-driven stuff. And there was one little part in the show that I picked up on with that, but other than that, it wasn't. And kudos for the showrunners on doing that. So I gotta say, for the most part, episode 1, I give a thumbs up on. I enjoyed it. It was different. It was interesting. It kept my attention. And, it was good. It was well shot. It looks good. They definitely had the budget there. I want to say they had like a $15 million budget for the series. And it showed, which at the height of The Next Generation, it was $1 million an episode to do the effects and the sets and all that stuff, not counting the actors' salaries, but just to produce the show. And I mean, the expense that CBS put into this definitely shows, and it's good. It looks really, really good and has its own unique look, but still feels like it's in the Next Generation universe versus, the Kelvin timeline New Trek verse, which I like. So the opening scene, very cool. I really dug it. There was a lot of nice nods to the movies and the TV show, right? So it opens up in space. We get this nice panoramic of space, very cool looking, and we hear Blue Skies, which is a nod to Data, who sang the song at Riker and Troy's wedding in Alaska, I think they were, for Nemesis. And this time we pan into Tin Ford on the Enterprise D, which was awesome. Data and Picard played poker, which they played poker all the time on the show, except for Picard, who did in the last episode. So it kind of brings the last episode of Next Gen into this series. So that's kind of cool. I definitely like that. It was a dream sequence, and very interesting because they're playing poker, and Picard, I think he's in just regular civilian clothing, and Data had on the movie uniform. So post Generations, it was the gray and black, real heavy wool-looking thing with the multicolored collars showing the rank or the command structure, whether they're command or engineering or medical or whatever, and which was interesting because they had the movie style badge on Data, which it was the wrong uniform on the wrong ship. Again, kind of cool because dreams aren't quite right, and that was really, really neat. And they had the Earl Grey tea, all that kind of stuff, and I really like that. And of course, we have the Mars explosion and attack, and Picard wakes up, which was a nice nod to First Contact, where he was having the dream with the Borg attacking, opening up on his face and all that, and he wakes up and there's the attack on Earth by the Borg and all that kind of good stuff. So all that was tied together really, really well, and we just have Picard waking up, in his bed as an old man. And that, of course, he's at Chateau Picard on Earth, his vineyard, right? In France, the dog comes up and he's licking him, and he calls him number one, which is, an obvious nod to the Next Generation. I really, really hope Picard has the dog with him when he goes and talks to Riker, or Riker references the dog being number one. I think that would be great. Very cool setup. I love Chateau Picard. All the scenes there, very beautiful. Love the house, the setup, the vineyard. The look is very cool. Reminded me a lot of the new Trek stuff from 2009, where Kirk was kind of riding his bike over by the Enterprise, and off in the distance you could see all the big buildings and future buildings, in the horizon. Same thing here. And then they had the mechanical kind of sprinklers going over the vineyard. All that looked really, really good. I mean, the cinematography. I will say when they get down to Picard walking into the field, there was a little too much flash scene change going on. I would have liked them to take a little bit more time so that we could soak in the look there at the vineyard. And the funny thing about the vineyard, buddy of mine, my best friend, Kevin, he's a television producer out in Los Angeles, and he's worked on a number of shows out there. And he got a hold of me the next day after he watched it, and he was like, "Hey, they filmed Star Trek Picard at one of the wineries that he is a member of up in wine country in California." And he was like, "Come on out, gives you a good excuse to come out and visit. We'll go up there and take a look at it." And it was the Sunstone Villa and Winery out in California where they filmed that. I think all of Picard is actually filmed in California, and it just absolutely looked gorgeous. And they nailed it with the chateau. A big bulk of the episode was there, and I'm sure as we move forward, we'll see the chateau less and less, but definitely gorgeous and a great setup. Now, the other thing at Chateau Picard that we get are the Romulans, and I can't think of their names to save my life. It's a guy and a girl. I think they're a couple. And I'm presuming that Picard dealt with them and the whole Romulan disaster with the supernova, and now they basically help him run Chateau Picard. I can't get a good vibe on them. I'm presuming they're really good characters, but back in my head, I feel like they're going to betray him somehow, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because they're Romulans. The other thing is, I've noticed all of the Romulans that we see in this episode seem a little too human. And in the trailers, I noticed in the trailers, they all, I mean, they look right, so kudos to them, because in Discovery, the Klingons look like shit. They don't look like Klingons. These at least look like Romulans, but they act too human. There's a particular arrogance or a certain holding that the Romulans have always had about themselves, and these Romulans don't have that at all, and I don't know. It just seems a little odd. Maybe they're humbled because their planet's gone or something. I don't know. What do you guys think? I'd love to hear your comments on it, but there's just something amiss about it, and something I don't trust about those two. So then from Chateau Picard, we go and meet Dahj. Dahj. D-A-H-J. I thought they were saying dash or dosh, but it's Dahj. There's a few parts in the show that I was a bit confused on people's names. And she's living her life in her apartment wherever she's at. She's with her boyfriend. She's like, hey, I got accepted to Daystrom Institute, which is a fantastic nod. I mean, that's been referenced ever since the original series. So that was really, really cool. And then all of a sudden, boom, the bad guys. So the action starts, right? So these bad guys appear. They start speaking in an alien tongue. And they're like, speak in English. And they kill the boyfriend. They try to activate her. She's not active, or try to activate her or something. And it's very Jason Bourne. They go to put a hood over her head to abduct her. And first they put some kind of futuristic sunglasses access thing on her head. And yeah, then she activates and just whips everybody's ass all Jason Bourne style. Freaks out and takes off, and that's how we get introduced to this young lady character. So apparently, while this is going on over in France, Picard's going to do this interview, and he's real nervous about it. And his two Romulan friends are like, "Well, you know, you've got this. Be the captain that they know. You're a great man. Blah 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 blah," and kind of give him the pep talk. And he's all dressed up, and he goes and does this interview. Which is interesting because they're not supposed to talk about him leaving Starfleet. You know, the standard precedents some of these people will have on interviews, and they obviously go off course with that. But it's some really nice nods in that one particular scene, because we've got the makeup artist is a Bajoran, which was cool, and I like how they're like boop boop boop. They're changing the makeup instead of the person's makeup. It's like a screen in front, and they're changing the tint of things to get the color right, which was an interesting way to go about it. Just kind of cool looking. And then we had a trill in that scene. It was FNN, which I'm guessing is Federation News Network, which was interesting. And of course, the reporter starts out all nice, and, you know, Picard, you're a great man, this, that, and the other, and everybody knows you. Thanks for inviting the galaxy into your study. And he goes, oh, you know, it's not as crowded as I thought, you know, kind of a fun little jokes thing. And then in the promo of that interview, we see a lot of really good promo art for Star Trek The Next Generation and the Next Generation movies. We see, like, Picard with Worf in the ceremonial Klingon outfits. I want to say it's Worf coming back into the Klingon Empire, but I might be wrong there. We also see Picard in a few variations of his uniform, which was cool. I know one of them was his dress uniform from the later movies, the white one, which I always liked. I thought that was kind of cool, and just a very nice intro. And then, of course, the reporter does what, reporters do. She goes off course and wants to talk about this other stuff. And he's like, I thought this was supposed to be about the Romulan supernova and this, that, and the other. And she's trying to get the real answers. And, you did help. You left the Enterprise to go, do this support effort with Romulus and this and that and the other, which was weird because why couldn't he command the Enterprise to go do that? I don't get it. I thought that was a little weak explanation as to why he left the Enterprise. Yeah. The supernova destroys Romulus we see in the Trek '09 series with Spock. And, of course, Picard, pushes to bring the Romulans in, give them a home in the Federation. And she's like, Romulans, give the Romulans a home in the Federation, where a lot of people don't trust them because they're Romulans and this. And they were trying to go with, I think, the Star Trek VI theme where nobody trusted the Klingons to come into the Federation. But it didn't really hit the same point to me. But I gotta say, I liked the idea of that, and he said, we're, dealing with these lives, and, trying to save these lives, and she was like, Romulan lives, and he was like, no, lives, and that was the woke moment, and I'm like, ugh, really? But I gotta say, that was the only time I really kind of noticed that, which is nice because I see that kind of crap like in the Star Wars movies and all this other stuff in Hollywood. So it's expectant, but at least it was not like too in your face. So I'll at least give it that. So he goes through the interview, gets pissed off, and he's just like, this interview is he starts going into a Picard style speech, and then he's like, this interview's over, and he gets up and walks out, right? So Daj is then, running, and in her mind she sees, find this guy, basically in his head. She sees it, and she sees the interview on the street in the rain, and then she goes to Chateau Picard because she needs his help. Picard's sitting there with a dog, and he's reciting Shakespeare, and which, he's always reciting Shakespeare, and Shakespeare's always been a big part of Star Trek, which is pretty cool. And he's like, who are you? And she's like, do you know me? Blah, 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 and, I need your help. Something deep down is telling me to come to you. And so they sit there, and, he offers her some Earl Grey tea and all that kind of good stuff. And I like how he drinks the decaffeinated now because he's old. I thought that was kind of funny. And, they talk about the necklace, and they bring it up, and it's like this kind of double ring necklace, and they're like, oh, it's so unusual. And I'm like, really? I see that like all the time at Walmart or on Facebook for like, a couple or a mom and a daughter. I'm like, they must not have much style in the 24th century. So anyway, we get to the, okay, you're going to stay here and we're going to take care of you kind of thing. And they go send her off to bed and that kind of stuff. And then Picard has another dream, right? Well, no, he doesn't have the dream. He wakes up, and she's gone. Like, she runs, and they're like, we didn't see her in here. She's not anywhere on the property. They're checking the scanners, and it just felt really, really forced. It did, and I was like, I don't like this. So then we cut back to Dodge somewhere else, and looks like she's in the same city she was at before, wherever that was, and she ends up calling her mom for help, and her mom's like, go back to Picard, and she's like, no, I couldn't, I can't, they're trying to help me, but I can't let anybody else die, and this, that, and the other. And then she's like, oh, wait a minute, how did you know I was at Picard's? I never told you. It was, again, a very forced spot. It kind of reminded me of Terminator 2 with the Terminator pretending to be the mom. And the mom's like, oh, yeah, you told me that earlier. Yeah, that's the ticket, eh? Yeah, believe it. But, of course, Dodge does not believe it. And, she tells the mom's like, you got to find Picard. Find him. And it triggers her again. And then she's all of a sudden like, on the interwebs. Very similar to the episode with Data, where he was reprogramming the computer on the Enterprise. That really, really was very heavy on that to me. And there's a reason for that. And of course, we'll talk about that. But yeah, I don't know. It was kind of odd, you know. And is the mom good or bad? I don't know. Is she trying to help or not help? I really couldn't figure that one out either. It was just kind of really weird, right? And you know, just a lot of really unanswered questions. Which, I mean, it's supposed to. It's kicking off the show, right? Now, a really other good scene with Daj here at Chateau Picard was when she asked him, you know, hey, have you ever felt like you didn't know who you were, basically? And he was like, oh, yes, many, many times, which was awesome because, you know, how many times has Picard lost his memory or he pretended to be somebody else, right? When he was Locutus, he got, you know, forced and kind of watched himself and didn't know he could betray his friends and family and all that kind of stuff like that. You saw the episode with the probe where he lived out somebody else's life, and then he came back and he was like, is this real? Is it not real? What's going on there? You know, those kind of things. Or when Q changed his life, where he didn't get the fake heart and he became Lieutenant Picard in a little blue outfit, and his life just wasn't the same. Or even when he pretended to be other people, like the time when he was the smuggler or Mott the barber, those kind of things. So I loved that. I thought that was a great little nod, and Patrick Stewart really just kind of, I saw Captain Picard from The Next Generation in that scene, and that was glorious. So then we bounce from Daj back to Picard, where he's having another dream, right? So he wakes up again. So it's a kind of a repeat scene from the beginning. He wakes up and he walks out, opens and looks. This time there's nobody out in the vineyard, and come to find out, it's a dream sequence. So now in this dream sequence, we kind of see Data. We're kind of zooming in on Data in his Next Generation uniform, which was really cool. He's sitting there painting on the tree, which we've seen in the trailer, and then Picard walks up in his TNG uniform, and they got the right pins and all that kind of stuff. And Data's, you know, they're focusing in on this painting, you know, and he asks, just like in the trailer, hey, do you want to, would you like to finish it? And Picard says, I don't know how. And he goes, yes, you do, and hands him the brush, and then boom, he wakes up, and instead of being in his bed, he's like all asleep on his desk. And he's like, oh, and he looks over and he sees the painting that's unfinished, right? It's the same painting in the dream, but it's missing the face. And he, you know, kind of wigs out, and he decides that he's got to find the answers, right? So he goes to Starfleet headquarters, goes to the archive vault, and there's a woman talking to him that's very, very machine-like, and she says some kind of a joke. He's like, is that humor? She goes, oh, we're trying something new. And he basically turns her off. She's a hologram, right? And I think that was a nod to the Doctor from Voyager, the way that she was kind of acting, which is kind of fun. And he goes into the Picard vault, right? And the fact that you have your own archive vault. And it wasn't clear if it was a public archive where anybody could go in and look at it, like in a museum, or if it was like his personal bank vault with, you know, like a safety deposit box or something. That was kind of the vibe I got initially from that, but I'm really not sure. But what I really did like in the vault, oh, this is probably some of the most Easter eggs in the entire show. Yeah, you had his Shakespeare book in there, which was cool. A Klingon Batleth, which was awesome. Very close-up shot of a model of the captain's yacht from the Enterprise E, which was very, very nice. In fact, there was a model of the Enterprise E above the Batleth, I believe, which was very, very cool. And then, of course, you've got the Captain Picard Day banner, which looked exactly like the original prop from the show. I don't know if it was, or they just, you know, scanned it and then printed a new copy. But I really loved how he kept that. That just seemed very grandpa to me, and was a great little touch. So the purpose I guess, of him going in there was to find out what this painting was, right? So he pulls this painting out of the drawer and opens it up, and it's the painting that matches the one on his wall. And so he asks the archivist. The hologram comes back on, and he's like, "What is this? Who did it? What's the name of the painting? All this stuff." And she's like, "Well, it's a painting that was gifted to you by Commander Data 30 years ago, blah, 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 blah." And she gives the name of the painting as Daughter, which I thought she said Dodger. And I was kind of confused. I'm like, what? And then I realized, oh, she said daughter. So, yeah, they're really the accents or pronunciations. I don't know, maybe I'm just getting old. But I swear to God that she said Dodger. But it was daughter. And so Picard just kind of putting all this stuff together. And, so it was kind of weird to me because, number one, why would he not know what it is or who gave it to him? Why would he not know the name of the painting? Because he's got the other copy that's unfinished. Data painted all the time on The Next Generation. She said it was 30 years ago, and they've been really good at a bunch of little Easter eggs and show nods. So 30 years ago would have been 1990 and would have put it at season 4. So I wonder if there's going to be some kind of tie-ins to that particular season regarding Data. I don't think the Lol episode was that season. I'd have to go look. Which that was another thing. There was no reference to Lol in this because we're starting to see the link to Data and with the dreams and all the stuff with the girl, and I really wanted some kind of nod to her, and maybe we will at some point in the series, who knows, but it definitely wasn't in this episode. So then, of course, Picard and Dash find each other outside of Starfleet headquarters. The Romulans attack, and she goes all Jason Bourne again, and they're talking, and before the Romulans actually attack, Picard's basically saying, "You're an android. You're a android." And she's like, "No, I'm from Seattle," which I believe that was a nod to Discovery, because I very much remember there was a character saying that he was from Seattle, and he was all like, they were like in gunpoint, and they're about to come around a corner or something. I don't know. I might be wrong. If I am, leave a comment down below, but I'm pretty sure that happened. Maybe it's the Mandela effect. I don't know. But, she's like, no, I can't be an android. And, yeah. Which, there was an episode of, was it Star Trek, the original Star Trek, or was it Next Generation? Where, I think it was Next Generation, where a character, she didn't know that she was an android. I think it was the original Trek, actually, which is a very similar plot. But so she's fighting the Romulans, tells Picard to stay down, and that's where you actually find out they're Romulans, because the helmet comes off and all that kind of jazz. And she goes to pick up a gun, and this Romulan spits green stuff. I thought it was blood out of his mouth, but it was acid or something, because the gun started to melt and she started to melt and screamed, and then the gun exploded and throws old Picard across the top of the building, and then he wakes up on the couch. And my first thought was, oh, this is another dream sequence. She really didn't die. And then the Romulans were like, no, yeah, she's dead. So she really did die. That was kind of a surprise to me. I didn't expect that, and I don't know how I feel about it. I don't know. It was just off feeling, and again, the two Romulans that live with him, I don't know. I still get, in that scene again, kind of put me off like they're part of the conspiracy. Am I just anti-Romulan? Is that me? Should I be more woke? No, I shouldn't. So then we go to the Daystrom Institute, which was really cool to see that in Okinawa, Japan. And he meets Agnes. You know, it's Agnes. And is it me, or does she remind you of, was it Kirsten Bell or somebody? I don't know. She just looks, I don't know, familiar, but I don't think it's an actress I'm familiar with. And they're talking about synthetics, and he's asking about an android that's made of flesh and bone. And she's like, oh, no, we can't talk about that. You know, they've been banned. And so they go into where the android room was, and there's like one person working in there, and it's a ghost, you know, it's a ghost down in here. And they start talking about stuff, and she brings up Bruce Maddox, which was awesome. That was a great nod. I hope that actor comes back and makes a cameo in this. I hope he's involved somehow. And if you don't know that character, you know, he's the one that tried to disassemble Data, and then he was a reoccurring character on the show, which yeah, it was pretty fun. Definitely liking all the nods in the show so far. And then you know, he brought up you know, before, she brought up before, she showed him before, and they're talking. And that was kind of cool. And they're like, he basically, Data tried to download himself in there, and it didn't take. Before just wasn't, you know, Data. He wasn't as good, and which was interesting because that was always kind of the, is he going to come back from Nemesis as, you know, in the B4 body? And I really, really did like that. I thought that was pretty cool. And kind of cool to see that. And, you know, they talked about, there was the hint of the positronic brain. If there was some kind of little bit of the data out of the positronic brain, they could basically replicate the whole positronic, and something about it being dual and this and that and the other, which basically means, hey, when we do this process, you get two of them, right? So twins. And they're like, what? Twins? You know, and that was, you know, the symbol with the two little circles, and it was, again, kind of forced, but whatever. And then we get pushed to the final scene, which, lo and behold, it's the Romulans. It's always the Romulans. So, yeah, we see a warbird go into the reclamation center, which you could tell right away was the Borg ship. And we see this new Romulan named Merrick, who looked pretty young and kind of the hip kid looking guy. He's probably going to be like a smuggler type, a Han Solo type of character. And he meets Dr. Oshii, which is the same actress that plays Daj. And she's got the same necklace. And we find out it's her twin. She goes, yeah, my dad made this for me. And my sister, twin, which, again, seemed really, really forced. Why didn't Daj mention her sister? You didn't have to say twin. You could have said that, yeah, my father made this for me and my sister. But, you know, whatevs. It is what it is. So this Romulan's talking to him. Oh, I had a brother once. And I don't know, it's pretty blatantly obvious he's going to try to manipulate her. And it's a little, again, very forced scene. She's like, oh, really? You're kind of cute. I'm listening to you. You know, he's like, nobody wants to hear about that. She's like, well, I do. Come on, guys. I was like, okay, we gotta wrap this up, guys. Episode 1's done. And cut. What do you got? And then, you know, that's pretty much the episode. We see it pan outward. The cool thing about that was, two cool things about that final shot. They used the original Romulan theme from the original 60 series. So that was very, very cool. Although, I kind of wish they would use the Next Generation Romulan theme because it's a Next Generation show, but I don't know, it's kind of nice to go to a throwback to the original series, since this is the first, you know, the first series, first episode, why not? And then when it pans out, it's very, very similar to what we saw in Star Trek First Contact, right? In Picard's dream, where they're coming out of the Borg ship. So, of course, we see it's the Borg vessel that's being rebuilt by the Romulans. They turn it into a base or whatever. And in the trailers, we've seen them working on androids in that ship. So that's going to be coming up. So that's going to be interesting to see what goes on with that. And how do the Borg? Obviously, they're on a Borg ship. Are they using Borg technology for the androids? Did they use the Borg technology to make Daj and Oshi? So that's kind of interesting to see where that's going. So that's basically the first episode, right? What do you guys think is going to be next? I know we're going to see Riker and Troy. I don't know what episode. Probably within the next episode or two. I'm going to guess by the end of the next episode we'll see Riker, because I think Riker is going to connect him with the kind of smuggler crew that he's going to get hooked up with. And we know Seven's going to be involved. I don't know which episode that's going to be. I think she's also going to be in the next episode or two because it looks like she's in his house. So she might actually be the next one we see in episode 2, and then him going to Riker after his house gets blown up. So I don't know. I also think Q will be in this season. Why do you ask? Well, there was a costume designer or a graphics designer. I can't remember. It was a photographer that was doing a photo shoot, and they were very, very good at not showing you who he was shooting, but it was on a green screen, and you did see a glove that looked a lot like the glove that Q wore in the first episode, Encounter at Farpoint, and in All Good Things, the last episode. So, and Q said he would see him around from time to time, and we haven't seen him in the movies, so I got a feeling he's going to show up at least for a dream sequence in this. I hope it's actually the real Q, if it is. So what do you guys think? Leave a comment down below. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else we're going to see. Who else are we going to see? We know the guy that plays Hugh, the Borg Hugh, is going to be in this. And I think he dies because I think he's the one that Seven's crying and holding. So I think he's going to be coming up pretty soon. Who else do you guys think? Are we going to get Geordi? Are we going to get Worf? We kind of got Worf already, but not really. We know that Whoopi was invited for season 2, so she's not going to be in season 1. So if you didn't know, there's not going to be any Guinan in this season because Patrick Stewart went on to The View, which is a terrible show. Oh, the wokeness. They're so strong and so brave. So woke. So woke. Yeah, I hate that show a lot, but he was on there promoting the series, and he invited Whoopi Goldberg to come back in season 2 as Guinan, and I'd love to see that. I think that would be really cool to have her on. And even though I think she's a big old pile of crap these days, I would like to see her reprise the role of Guinan in season 2, because we know we're getting that. So, yeah. Very interesting kickoff. So, overall, I liked the episode. I like the look. I like the direction they're going for the most part. The characters that they introduced were pretty decent. I liked the young girl Dash / Oshi a lot better than I thought I was going to. I thought she was going to be kind of a Mary Sue, and she is to a certain extent, but Mary Jason Osborne Sue or something, I guess. She's the MacGuffin of the show, so it worked for what it was. I still don't know about the 2 Romulans that are living with Picard. What do you guys think? Are they friend or foe? I know they made appearances in comics that counted down to this. I have not seen it. There was also there's a short on CBS I've yet to watch with the little grade school kids looking at the Mars attack, which I got to take a look at. So that's kind of a nice tie-in. But yeah, overall, I was pretty happy with the series. The first episode, at least, it's got me hooked. I'm looking forward to episode number 2 and where this is going. So leave a comment down below, guys. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Star Trek Picard Did I miss anything? What Easter eggs did you see? What plot holes are in there? What theories do you have? I'd love to hear from them. Like I said, leave a comment down below or jump over to my Facebook page. Join the conversation over there. Now, if you guys like this series, let me know if you'd like to see me take a look at some other things and talk to you guys, with you guys about that. I'd love to hear your input. And as always, look for more videos in the future. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you like this video, thumbs it up. If you hate this video, thumbs it down. To watch more Ultra Maximus, click on the links to the right. Don't forget to subscribe and share, like us on Facebook, and look for more videos in the future.